So, it's been a while since I did a proper video on movies. I've been reviewing them in shorts. I'm not done a spoiler talk in a while. I remember said I was going to do one for No Way Home. Never did it. When was the last one I did? It was a while ago. I can't even remember what the last one I did was. Actually, let me check. What was the last spoiler talk that Davidoff did? Let me go on my MCU Phase 4 playlist. Maybe that might tell me. If I can find it. Let me just check it. MCU. What was the last? Hawkeye. It might. I think it was Hawkeye. I said my thoughts on like SDCC, but that doesn't count. I think it was I think the last spoiler talk was Hawkeye. That's depressing. How long ago was Hawkeye? That was years ago. Anyway, yeah, again, it's been a while since my last spoiler talk for anything, and not just Marvel. But Across the Spider-Verse was just that good. One of my friends said it was better than Avengers Endgame, and I think I agree. I think I actually agree. It might have been better than Avengers Endgame. Infinity War was much better than Endgame, by the way. Infinity War is the best MCU movie for me. Across the Spider-Verse was not as good as Infinity War, but it was better than Endgame in my opinion. And I agree with what someone said. Like, yeah, it is actually better than Endgame. The only downside for me is that it ended on a cliffhanger. So the cliffhanger happened, and there's clearly going to be a part 2. It's not the same as like Infinity War and Endgame, because Infinity War is still its own story. Infinity War had a beginning, middle, and end. It had a battle. The battle ended. Endgame was like a new story. It was the same story, but it wasn't like a complete cliffhanger. Like it had an ending. But Across the Spider-Verse does not have an ending. It just says to be continued at the end. So I think it suffers from that. But for me, that's the only downside, really. For me, this is an incredible movie, and Into the Spider-Verse was great. So if Beyond the Spider-Verse nails it, then that's one amazing trilogy. Hopefully they do nail it. So the first, I think half an hour is, maybe not half an hour, maybe 20 minutes, is Gwen. It's Gwen's backstory, and it was good character building, good storytelling. I like what they did. Also, later in the movie, there's this whole canon event thing, right? Things that are supposed to happen. Everyone loses a loved one, and there's always a police captain that dies close to the Spider-Man character. This happens in every universe, or at least it's supposed to happen, right? Canon events. Gwen's dad is a police captain, right? So he's supposed to die, right? But when she gets back to him later at the end of the movie, he quits as captain. So what does that mean? Does that mean the canon is broken in Gwen's universe, or is it something else? I'm curious about that. I'm very curious about that. Miguel was crazy, wasn't he? Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara was crazy, and his backstory was understandable, obviously, with that kid and everything, that universe completely disintegrating, lost an entire universe of people just like that, entire world gone. So you can understand his motivation. It was definitely hard on Miles, though. That Spider-Man chase scene where all the Spider-Man were chasing Miles, apparently it took 4 years to animate, which is quite crazy, right? It took 4 years to animate that whole scene. A lot of Spider-Man there, even Spectacular Spider-Man, the actual actor who voiced him was cameoed in that. Speaking of cameos, Donald Glover was there. I don't know if that was MCU Donald Glover or whether it was a variant, but the Prowler Donald Glover was there as a live action cameo, which was cool. Speaking of live action cameos, we had a scene from Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Uncle Ben dying, and then the police captain dying in Amazing Spider-Man. They showed those scenes, which I think was pretty cool. A mix, that's not really cameos, it was just showing the scene, but it was like a cool mix of live action. It really fit really well. It didn't take out the movie. There was that Venom. They didn't show Venom. They showed the lady from the shop. But there was that as well. That's probably the weirdest one between her and Spot. There were some good cameos in there, and plenty of great Spider-Man, like the game Spider-Man. This PlayStation Spider-Man was there, which was awesome as well. So many great references. But yeah, Miguel was the real deal. They really made him brutal and dark, and he's a very good antagonist, and he has the right motivations. I like Spider-Woman. I think her being pregnant was a bit much. I think that's actually a thing from the comics. Speaking of comics, it's like Into the Spider-Verse. One of the things that made it so great was the fact that it was a comic book brought to life. Across the Spider-Verse also is a comic book. It feels like you're reading a comic book through a movie. It's so good how they bring everything to life. It looks like you're watching a comic book in a really cool way. It's really awesomely done. It's so damn well done. Also, I'm curious if Miles is not meant to be, if he's not meant to be Spider-Man. There were other Black Spider-Men there, right? I mean, we didn't see their faces, but there probably were, right? Wonder who they were. Were they not Miles Morales? Or I'm just curious. I'm just curious. Is he the only Miles Morales who's Spider-Man? That could be quite interesting. The character of Miles Morales has been criticized over the years. People think he's not really Spider-Man. They kind of factored that into the movie with Miguel saying, "You don't belong here. I was never meant to be you," because the spider that bit him was from a different dimension, from a different universe. So like the spider that bit him was not supposed to bite him, so he was technically not supposed to be Spider-Man, which is quite interesting because the actual Spider-Man of that universe died saving him, and he was bitten. But the thing is, right, he didn't willingly get bitten. That spider got in there and bit him. Like, if it's anyone's fault, it's the Prowler's fault. The Prowler lured him in there. Like, what's he meant to do? Not get bit? He got bit by a spider that he didn't see. So it's not even his fault. So maybe it's meant to happen. Who knows? But it was crazy how he escaped, right? And he escaped through that machine that sends you back based on your DNA. But he had the DNA of a spider from a different universe. So he got sent back to the wrong universe. He got sent back to the universe where the spider was from, not where he was from, to see alternate versions of his mother. His dad's already dead. His uncle's still alive. And the other version of him is there. Miles Morales, in that universe, is the Prowler, which was a crazy twist to me at the end of the movie. I'm just like, what? He's the Prowler? Like, first the twist was he was in the wrong universe. And then Gwen realized, like, she went to save him, but he wasn't there. He was in the wrong universe. So, like, that messed me up, first of all. I'm just like, oh, he went back to Earth 42, not to his universe. And then you find out that the Prowler is another version of him. The evil version of him is the Prowler. So that's the universe where the spider was from. So who was the Spider-Man to bite? Was the Spider-Man to bite that Miles Morales? Or someone else in that? Maybe another Peter Parker? But regardless, because that spider bit him, in that other universe that he's now stuck in, there is no Spider-Man. Because there's no spider to bite everyone. Because there's no Spider-Man to protect the city in that universe, which is quite mad. Speaking of universe, the Indian universe, I think it's just one country, but the Spider-Man India one was quite intriguing to me. My parents are from Sri Lanka, so like my mum watching that was quite like, what's going on? I'm just like, this is close to home. But one thing I noticed, this is a very random thing, I noticed there was a London red double-decker bus going to Trafalgar Square. Why is that in India? I'm very confused. The bus that Spider-Man India's girlfriend was in, that he was trying to save, that was a London bus, and on the front it said Trafalgar Square. But they're in India, so what's going on there? So they stopped a canon event as well in that universe. He wasn't supposed to save that police captain. Gwen tried to stop him, but she didn't. Gwen was in a tough position, wasn't she? Because she knew that Miles was the first anomaly. He wasn't supposed to get bitten, and he wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man. She knew that, and she couldn't find a way to tell him. But she knew the whole time. So did Peter Parker, and I think that hurt Miles quite a lot because like he trusted both of them quite a lot, and he obviously liked Gwen quite a lot. So to be betrayed like that was That was a very gut-wrenching scene, that's for sure. But yeah, those twists really got me. References, like I mentioned, they mentioned Doctor Strange only by name, so like they referenced the MCU, but like they didn't really show anything. But they did show Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. I thought that was interesting. Why wouldn't you show the MCU? Are you saving something for beyond the Spider Verse? Spot was a surprisingly good villain. At first, he was very jokey, then he was more serious. I think that's the point. I think, like Miles called him villain of the week, Miles took the Mickey out of him at the start of the movie, which motivated him to power himself up, and he's very much even worse now, even more of a problem. I mean, I think it's confirmed that they're doing a live action Miles Morales at some point. Maybe when they do that, Spot should be the villain there as well. Maybe Spot should be the arch nemesis of Miles Morales. These movies have set that up, in my opinion. He could be his Joker. I think that could definitely happen. But yeah, Spot is a crazy villain that I didn't take seriously at first, but he is scary. He is scary. But yeah, also, like, as I mentioned already, what if, like, Gwen's father is not captain anymore? So what does that mean for that universe? I'm curious about that. And Spider-Punk was cool, because he's from London, partly. But yeah, I'm also curious about that. Spider-Woman was cool. I don't think I mentioned that already. But yeah, Spider-Punk giving Gwen that, the new... I don't want to say wristband. What is it? The new... I can't... How have I forgotten what that's called? The bracelet, right? She got the multiversal travel bracelet after being abolished from from the task force. Clearly, Spider-Punk is on their side, and that's another thing, right? A lot of people will wonder why a lot of Spider-Man didn't. Maybe like some of the Spider-Man would have taken Miles' side. I think the live-action ones would have, but that's for sure. The live-action ones would have taken his side. But I was just curious as to why more didn't take his side. Although when you think about it, most of those Spider-Men didn't know what was going on. All they heard was, "Stop Miles Morales." That's all they heard. Also, the pointing meme was funny. That was a good use of that. But like Miles Morales, he like all they heard was "Stop Miles Morales." They didn't hear why or what he did or what happened. They were just told to chase him, and I think most of them chased him because of that. So who knows? It could have been, if everyone knew the context, it could have been like a Spider-Man Civil War. That could have been something that happened. So. Yeah, also, there was a Spider-Man that said, "You got nowhere to go, nowhere to run." Miles escaped and he's like, "My bad, guys, there was somewhere to run." The guy who was that Spider-Man, he was the guy who did the music. The music was amazing. The credit song, "Am I Dreaming," was my personal favourite. But all the theme songs, Gwen's theme song, Spot's theme song, and so many other theme songs throughout the movie, they were incredible. The first one had great album songs, right? Pop songs that were really good. Sunflower, Let Go, What's Up Danger, right? All these great charting type songs. This one had more of a score, more of a film score, and it was damn incredible. And Am I Dreaming was the perfect way to end that. Who did the album? Let me just check, because he did an incredible job. Metro Boomin. He was that Spider-Man who said there's nowhere to run. He did the music. Just look up the album for Spider-Verse. He's got a whole album out. It's incredible. And Am I Dreaming is the perfect way to end it. So yeah, there's probably so much more I've missed. I watched it twice now, once in IMAX, once in normal. You notice a lot more things when you watch it for the second time, because you know what's going to happen, so you notice more little details. I'm hoping that at the very least Miles gets to tell his parents that he is Spider-Man. Hopefully he gets to tell his parents that, because I'd been waiting for that moment, and it finally happened, except it wasn't his mum. It was his mum, but in a different universe, so it didn't really count. But I would love to see their reactions. I think what might happen is his father does die, but maybe the context of it changes, or maybe maybe it's not meant to happen. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. But it's meant to be, apparently. When he's sworn in, he dies. And I think that's similar in the game, right? In the game, he was doing a speech, and he died there in the Miles Morales game. So I think that's quite interesting. But yeah, there's so much I could say, and so much I probably would have said that I've forgotten. But that was an amazing movie. It's a 9.5 out of 10. There'll be a couple of vlogs on my personal channel, Sir Davidoff, watching this movie. But yeah, I think I've said all I wanted to say for the most part. I've definitely missed something, but what a movie. Great cameos, great characters, existing and new characters. There was so much to unpack there. And Peter was great. Peter and his baby. Bit irresponsible, but you know, we had a pregnant Spider-Woman at the start of the movie, so who cares, right? It's after all, it's a comic book based animation, so anything can happen. But yeah, I hope that when these movies end, it's not the end of this type of movie. I think there are so many comic books you can adapt into movies like that, and it would work. Even DC as well. I hope Spider-Verse is just the start of movies that can be animated and can be as good as this, that can look like a comic book brought to life. I think that'd be amazing. Oscar Isaac, amazing as Miguel O'Hara. And who plays Gwen? I forgot her name. Haley Steinfeld, she was brilliant. I can't remember the rest of the names, but all the actors did a great job. Great voice acting, and hopefully the next one's not delayed. March 29th, 2024 is the release date currently, but that could be delayed. I hope it's not, but at the end of the day, we need a good movie, so instead of a rushed one. So if they take their time, that's fine, but hopefully not too long, because that cliffhanger was a very painful one. So yeah, what a movie. What a movie. Let me know what you think of it down below. It was amazing. So yeah, this is your boy Davidoff. Please like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and see you. Oh yeah, also, like, regarding characters, one of the best things about the movie was the emotional conversations between certain characters. So Gwen and her dad, Miles and his dad, especially the one with Miles and his dad when Miles is Spider-Man and they're fighting Spot. They have a great conversation after that fight. There was Peter and Miles, so Peter had a kid because of Miles. There was a lot of great personal conversations in that as well. A very emotional side to the movie that I thought I'd mention as well. So yeah, that's it now. The video's done.